Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Tiffany Shackelford, Chief Strategic Officer of National Governors Association.
Good morning. I'd like to first thank Select USA for hosting this summit and bringing together investors and organizations from all over the world. The National Governors Association amplifies the voices of governors who are economic development leaders in their states, whether it's acting as the #1 job creator, building and sustaining infrastructure, or providing workers with the skills they need to be economically secure. Democratic, Republican, or Independent, all governors come together through NGA to share best practices in these and other policy areas, united in helping the people of their states. State and local governments own and operate more than 90% of our nation's infrastructure system. Bridges, roads, rivers, and rails are critical to industry and economic competitiveness. And though states face distinct challenges in maintaining their diverse forms of infrastructure, they share the goal of finding innovative ways to finance these essential investments. Foreign direct investment has played a critical role in growing states' economies. And as the CEOs of their states, governors stand ready to harness these opportunities to further benefit of their citizens. And now I have the honor of introducing two governors who have been on the cutting edge of implementing initiatives to address the economic issues in their states, from attracting record levels of investment to partnering with workforce training programs. The Honorable Governor Matt Bevin has served as governor of Kentucky since December 2015 and has been a dedicated member of the National Governors Association. Prior to becoming governor, he served as an Army officer as well as in the financial industry. He brings a wealth of business acumen as a founder of several companies, and he has managed and vastly expanded multiple businesses. One of our newer members, the Honorable Governor Henry McMaster of South Carolina, has served as governor since January. Before becoming governor, he devoted years to serving South Carolina, including 2 as lieutenant governor and 8 as attorney general. His commitment to state politics translates into a deep understanding of South Carolina's unique economic development needs. Kentucky and South Carolina both have leaders who consistently apply an innovative approach to infrastructure policy and workforce development. I also have the pleasure of welcoming our moderator, the Honorable Jane Garvey, North America Chairwoman of Meridiam, the largest investor of public-private partnerships in the U.S. With her decades of experience and service in top influential leadership roles in the transportation industry, I can think of no better person to moderate this critical discussion. And in our office, we call her the infrastructure rock star. From 1997 to 2002, she was the administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration, after earlier positions as deputy administrator of the Federal Highway Administration, where she was responsible for establishing an innovative financing program properly named Garvey Bonds. And as the first 5-year appointed administrator of the FAA, Garvey led our country through the extraordinarily formidable events of September 11th with grace and skill. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Governor Matt Bevin, the Honorable Governor Henry McMaster, and the Honorable Jane Garvey.
Yes, very honorable. That's us.
Well, here we are.
Indeed.
Here we are.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, Tiffany, for that lovely, lovely introduction, and to the National Governors Association, who are great supporters not only of Select USA, but certainly of all of the efforts that Select USA does throughout the year. And I do want to acknowledge the wonderful, encouraging comments from Secretary Ross earlier this morning, and also acknowledge the terrific work of the Select USA team led by Fred Volkazik. Where is he? I'm not sure if Fred is here or not, but They certainly have produced a wonderful conference. This is an impressive audience with officials and public officials and business leaders from around the world. So it is great to see you all here today. And let me say that I am deeply honored and privileged to be here with two wonderful governors, two very distinguished governors. We talked a little bit ahead of time, and I have to say that they represent two very distinct states, different parts of the United States, different parts of the country. But I believe, as the Secretary said this morning, they're representative, really, of the varied and really a wide variety of the U.S. market and the vast experience that the U.S. market has to offer. So we're delighted to have them here. And I will say that while they are distinct regions, they do share a common theme, and that is that they are led by visionary leaders. Each of the governors here with us this morning has, as you heard from their introduction, has a real commitment to bringing investment to their states, and they've done it through innovation, they've done it through technology, and they've done it through, I think, some of the most creative leadership that we've seen in the United States. So while I think they'd be the first to admit that sometimes states compete, and they probably have competed, it really makes, as again the Secretary said this morning, for a more robust engagement. So we are delighted to be here and to have this discussion with you. We heard this morning a little bit from manufacturers. We just had a wonderful panel with folks who represent some pretty significant companies in the United States. And we're going to have a chance now to really engage in a discussion with the governors. And if I could perhaps begin the discussion by asking you to tell us a little bit about your state, a little bit about your own priorities. And I'm not going to choose which one should go first. I'll just go perhaps to the governor.
Go ahead.
Governor McMaster.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey and Governor. Bevin, I'm very happy to be here representing South Carolina and bringing the message for South Carolina, and that is we're open for business, and we're doing very well. We had leadership over many years in South Carolina that was very far-sighted, and one thing they began back in 1961 was our technical education system, and we now have 16 different locations, 16 technical education colleges around the state, and we are linking them up with businesses that want to expand in South Carolina or work in South Carolina. We have a vigorous apprenticeship program that we have been working on and is making great strides. It's very successful, and also something called Select South Carolina, Ready SC, that where our people will actually go to another country or a plant or another part of the country or a foreign country and see what they need, what kind of skills, workforce skills they need to come to South Carolina. It's all at no cost. It's worked very effectively. All the big companies that we have now have said that was a critical part of the attraction of South Carolina, and that includes a lot of big companies, and we're looking for more. But what we have that is we think is unique among the states is a deep water port that in October will be getting deeper. We'll be dredging it, and it'll be going eventually. We'll be able to handle 55 feet ships that need that much water. We just unloaded 3,090 containers a couple of weekends ago in just over 11 hours. It's almost 4.5 containers per minute. We really do it very quickly at the port in Charleston. And we have 2 inland ports. That's a rail line. Norfolk Southern runs up state to 85, Interstate 85, and the CSX line runs from the Port of Charleston up to I-95 in Dillon, up towards Charlotte. So when the Dillon one gets working, we'll have those 2 rail lines where truckers can come in on those highways and drop their load or pick up a load, thus saving a lot of time. We have plenty of power, a lot of water, beautiful sunshine, lots of golf courses. I mean, we got everything. If you can't find it in South Carolina, you probably don't need it. So
sounds pretty good, Governor.
And we are happy to be, one thing that we stole from Matt was his Go Pro, Go Proud program, but we couldn't get the legislature to put any money in it this time. But it's a great program, and it's that kind of innovation where the states are and very much in a competition, and it's paying off. I'm happy to be here for my state.
Great, Governor.
Thank you. I mean, it is true. We do compete with each other, but we're friends with each other, and we learn from each other, and we take ideas from one another. There's an old saying that iron sharpens iron, and the best ideas come from people who work together, even sometimes competitively. I'll start. I just want to thank those of you for coming, because this is a topical time. There's a lot of concern and excitement all at the same time as it relates to foreign direct investment in the United States. And like South Carolina, so too Kentucky is open for business, but America is open for business. And we'll be talking about this over the course of this panel. But in Kentucky specifically, a couple things that I want to touch on. First of all, his comment, South Carolina is a wonderful state, don't get me wrong, but he said if they don't have it in South Carolina, you don't need it. They don't have bourbon in South Carolina. I'm just saying. And I don't know if you need it. I don't know if you need it, but a lot of you want it, and you can only get it in Kentucky. So I will say this, though. Kentucky is blessed by having a lot of things that many of you are looking for. For those that are looking for a presence in North America and in the United States specifically, we're smack dab in the middle. We're geographically well located. You can get in one day's drive to 2/3 of the population of the United States of America from Kentucky. We are a logistical hub. The UPS World Shipping Hub is in Kentucky. DHL's North American Shipping Hub is in Kentucky. Amazon just announced that they're going to build their World Shipping Hub, their Prime Air Hub, in Kentucky. The reason being, there are many reasons, but not the least of which is the geography, the logistical expertise that's already there, the workforce that is very capable and proven in the logistical area. My vision, it's often been said, without vision, the people will perish. You've heard that said. In my vision for Kentucky is that we will become the absolute epicenter for engineering and manufacturing in North America, specifically in the United States. That it will be, while there are many good states, and I'm sitting here with one of the finest in terms of South Carolina's representation, there are many great states, but I want Kentucky to be the crown jewel. And so the riverways, the roadways, the railways that transect through our state, 6 major water ports along our 2,000 miles worth of riverways. We've got interstate highways that connect. We have 4 seasons, none of them too extreme. We have an incredible workforce, and we'll talk about workforce development because it is a challenge for every state in America and every country in the world. We'll talk about what we're doing in Kentucky to make it easier. But last year, we had an all-time record. We had over $1 billion of capital investment from foreign direct investment. This year, we already have about $1.8 billion in foreign direct investment in Kentucky just in the first 5 months of this year. So what we'll be talking about, there's tremendous opportunity both through P3 opportunities and direct investment as well. There's an opportunity to do business in Kentucky. We want to do business with you. We are doing business with you. The last thing I'll say is this. There are more than 500 foreign-owned companies that are located in Kentucky. More than 500 from 34 different countries and employing well over 100,000 people in Kentucky. So we love what you have to offer, and we think you'll love what we have to offer. And I look forward to this conversation unfolding in the minutes ahead.
That's great. You can see why we invited both of these governors. They really are enthusiastic about their states and wonderful places to be with a terrific business environment, I think. Let's talk a little bit more about foreign direct investment. How do you see that unfolding in your state, either where you've already done it or perhaps ideas that you have for the future? And Governor, do you want to?
Sure, I'll be happy to touch on that real quickly. There's several areas. Again, foreign direct investment. Let me take it to the highest level. You all represent a variety of countries and a variety of businesses and industries. For many of you may know this, many of you may not. This is the first political job I've ever had. I've never been in politics. It wasn't my background. So I come from a business person's perspective. So when I'm working with countries and industries, I try to approach it from how would I want this to be done if I were in your shoes? And I have a degree in area studies, and I've traveled in 50-some countries around the world, so I come at this from some experience, but and I've done business in a number of these countries, so I try to put myself in your shoes. Where is there opportunity? Look at the highest levels. There's so much geopolitical unrest right now in the world. There's nowhere safe, including North America, completely. We've seen that as evidenced in recent days in this very area. And yet, on all the world's fronts, there is perhaps no continent more perceived to be, and in reality, safe, stable than North America. So many countries and companies are looking to put a presence in North America, and they're going to look at states like ours and others. And so the question you have to then ask yourself is, where can that money go? So some of you will be looking for direct investment, perhaps locating a business in America for the first time, building a production facility. And we're talking with some of those in this room and others as well about doing exactly that in Kentucky. But then additionally, there are things called P3 projects, and we'll talk about that as this panel unfolds. But there are infrastructure projects, and infrastructure is not just roads and bridges, although there are roads and bridges. We've just recently put 2 huge new bridges, a multi-billion-dollar project, across the Ohio River, connecting Kentucky and Indiana. We have another one that needs to be done connecting Kentucky with Ohio, where 4% of the GDP in America rolls over a single bridge every day, every week, every year. 4% of the nation's goods move across one bridge, the Brent Spence Bridge in northern Kentucky. There's opportunities there. But the last thing I'll say is this: infrastructure is also telecommunications. Infrastructure also involves the waterways. And now with the opening of the Panama Canal, you can take goods produced in Kentucky, put it on a barge, and move it literally straight to China without taking it off. These kind of opportunities are extraordinary. So developing that natural water port that already exists, developing the telecommunication infrastructure. We're doing a $283 million project right now with a foreign direct investor in upgrading our broadband internet capability. So there are many things like that, and we can talk about those again as we unfold here. But direct as a company and also in conjunction with the state on various projects.
Governor McMaster, what about for your state? Foreign direct investment is something I know that you've cared deeply about. How do you see that unfolding in your state? Where has it already occurred, or where would you like to see it occur? Is there a role for foreign direct investment?
Oh, yes. We want more of it. And we are...
More of it sounds good, right?
More sounds good. More is better. Since January, like Kentucky, we've announced, just beginning in January of this year, 5,000 new jobs, 51 development projects with over $1 billion in new capital. My part of the country, the Southeast, is really booming, and we've got people, also big law firms, worldwide law firms, all sorts of people are coming. We have the quality of life is so great in South Carolina. All the big companies that I've talked to, these are worldwide organizations. We in South Carolina sometimes don't realize that we're living in paradise. We lose sight of that fact. But the people who come and look us over always comment on that. And not only the natural resources and the forests and the rivers and the water and the lakes and the golf courses that I mentioned, but it's just the people themselves. We've been around since 1670, and we've been through a lot. And South Carolina is really on the move. Since we invented air conditioning and have interstate commerce through the highways, things are really booming. But I would say that, as Governor Bevin said, it's the workforce that is what we see as our main need. And we have apprenticeship programs where we give a $1,000 tax credit under state law for every apprenticeship program that qualifies under the current labor standards, and President Trump has asked that those standards be loosened a little bit to allow more of that to go on. We got plenty of electricity. We're a right-to-work state and have been for a long time, and that motivates a lot of people to come. In fact, we hear that when Boeing came several years ago, failure was predicted. Of course, they're booming, as you know, as are the other, about 8,000 employees, and I understand there's a waiting list now in Seattle to move to Charleston to go to that Boeing plant. But we have plenty of electric power. As I mentioned, our technical college system is for anyone who wants to go to technical college. We also have 3 major research universities that will partner with companies that want to come in, and essentially it's almost like free research. And one is in Charleston, one's in Columbia. That's USC is in Columbia. University of South Carolina, a total of about 40,000 students. Clemson University is in the upstate, and the International Automotive Center is there. That's a partnership between BMW and Clemson University and others. And the Medical University of South Carolina is in Charleston. Those are our 3 major research universities, and we have partnerships with companies large and small all over the place. So that's something we can offer. We have a stable source of power. We've run into a little distraction on the building of 2 new nuclear reactors, but we think that's going to be worked out just as the ones in Georgia. We hope there will be. But I think we have everything that you would like, and right. We have a lot on that quality of life. Again, we have executives from companies that people that have been all over the world and have houses here and there, and more they're buying places in South Carolina, and that's a signal that things are going right. But we have a legislature. We are known as a legislative state, and our legislature is 4 square behind the economic development in South Carolina. We have learned, and you probably know as well, that when people have good jobs that pay money, a lot of other problems either minimize or just disappear completely, and that includes domestic violence, drug usage, all kinds of crime. Marriages go up, divorces go down, people are happy. And that's what we're looking for, and we're on a good, strong trajectory right now. So I'd say the welcome mat's open. We have county governments that want to cooperate, state government wants to cooperate, and we are eager to introduce people to South Carolina to see if they would like to do business there.
Great. Very good. Thank you very much. And you've touched on something with the workforce development. I do want to get to infrastructure, and I do want to get to some of the challenges for foreign direct investment. But since the governor raised the issue of workforce development and the importance of education, and we heard that as one of the themes this morning as well. Governor, do you have some views on that? Is that
Sure.
an area of focus for you? And
it is of necessity, and those of you know this. I don't care what country you represent or what industry you represent, workforce is a challenge. It just is. Workforce, finding competent, trainable people who will be drug-free, who will show up on time. This is a challenge in any number of places, not only around the world, but certainly around the United States. And so it's a challenge for us, for South Carolina, and for others as well. There are 4 key things that we have done. And it's interesting, one thing I didn't mention earlier, I'll touch on. We're the number 3 producer of automobiles in America. We're the number 2 producer of aviation-related components. It is our number 1 export, and the number 1 contributor to our GDP is the aerospace and aviation industry. So in order to feed those growing areas, where is the workforce going to come from? That's the question. So we have put 4 initiatives in place, I'll touch on them quickly, that will help us to get out in front of this problem and to make sure that we maintain the lead that we have on this front. First of all, at the dual credit level, we have a program now in Kentucky where every high school senior, as part of their high school education, can earn graduation credits toward high school, but also simultaneously earn credit toward advanced degrees, associate degrees, 4-year degrees, or certifications. So we now have students graduating from high school in Kentucky who may already have certifications in welding and electronics and or associate's degrees that are immediately transportable into the working world. This idea that everyone needs to go straight to a 4-year college is something that I think we have done to our disadvantage in America. I won't talk about that a lot, but we need people that are trained to work in the 21st century, not just to have degrees and high expectations. So dual credit is one thing. Having a program, we've identified 5 key areas like logistics, like healthcare, like IT, etc. where there is the opportunity for a student. They don't even have to be a high school student or a college student. It might be someone in the middle of their work career. If they don't have an associate level degree or more already, and they want to pursue one of these 5 disciplines where there are hundreds and thousands of jobs already waiting to be filled, the state will come alongside and make sure that it costs them no money. So it will be no charge to them to be trained in something that you all are waiting to hire people for. I put into place a program called the Workforce Development Initiative. And this is a $100 million investment by the state of Kentucky. We started this last year. It's been an extraordinary success already. The $100 million was competitive. There were more than $540 million worth of competition for that. People with ideas saying, we want a piece of that. We said in order to be successful, in order to get a piece of the $100 million, you need to have the local high school, the local post-secondary school, and the local business community. All 3 talk to each other, work together, say what will each of you do to compete for this money, and then the state can come alongside and help. Here's the wonderful thing. Some people that had ideas didn't get funded, but they're doing their idea anyway. The first $65.5 million that the state put forward has been matched by $85 million from the private sector. $85 million on top of it, so it's more than a doubling of the impact, all focused not on building buildings necessarily, but on scaling apprenticeships and workforce training programs, certification programs. And this $100 million investment in Kentucky is leading the nation in many respects in terms of its innovation. Others are doing it and doing it well in other areas, but this has been very intentional. And so these are just some of the ideas that we are doing. The last and the fourth that I alluded to is the apprenticeship program. We have a focus on the apprenticeship program that I would put up against anything that's happening anywhere in America. We are learning from countries like Switzerland and Germany and even Australia who have taken this in their own way, and we are looking to make a 21st century version. I had a meeting last week as a number of us governors did with the president to talk about this exact topic. And the idea of apprenticeships where we can now start with young people at an earlier age, get them into companies where they can start to learn what the possibilities are for them. This is how we are going to ensure that not only America, but that states like Kentucky are ready for 21st century workforce in a way that makes us highly desirable and highly competitive. These are things we're doing right now in Kentucky, and they're making a profound impact. That's how we are able to attract the kind of investment, and not the least of which we talked about foreign direct investment, but the other domestic investment in Kentucky. The previous biggest year of foreign investment in Kentucky's history was $5.1 billion in outside and private capital. Already this year, in the first 5 months, we're over $6 billion. We've shattered our previous year because these things that we're talking about right now, we're already putting in place, together with passing right-to-work legislation and removing the prevailing wage and passing paycheck protection and things that, frankly, are impactful. These things are causing an avalanche of interest in Kentucky, and I'm grateful, and there's room for more. There really is.
It's great to hear. That's great to hear. So both of you have done a great deal in the area of workforce, and so certainly one of the issues that you often hear from companies who are interested in foreign direct investment is the need to have the right workforce. So to hear about the programs that you have in place, I think, is an enormous help. One of the other issues that came up this morning, and has certainly come up in the side conversations, is the importance of infrastructure. Companies who come to the U.S. and take a look at various states, one of the first questions they ask is, what's the infrastructure? Can you talk a little bit about how that plays in your state? Governor, you talked about the need of, or the importance of ports. So when we're talking infrastructure, as you said, it's not just roads and bridges, but it's ports, it's airports, it's telecommunication. Can you talk about some of your priorities in terms of infrastructure and how that may help spur some of the economic development?
Well, we're starting an enhanced effort on our roads. We have a whole lot of roads. A lot of our, normally there would be local roads are considered state highways. And I think we have more, the largest state highway system in the country, because we call a lot of our county roads state roads. But we have interstates running all through the state, as you've seen on the map. Like every other state, we have work to do, but we are beginning to consider that the real infrastructure is the people and the training and the apprenticeship that has been discussed already by Governor Bevin. And that's where we are putting our emphasis. Also in education, we're starting young, and of course we have a lot of improvement like everyone else. But this workforce development is probably the most important thing right now. And what we have done, we've learned to do it. As I mentioned, we started in 1961. And what our companies look for when they come and look us over is we have the people who can go to their plants or their companies, wherever they are in the world, and determine, along with those companies, what kind of workers they need. And then we will develop the curriculum at the technical schools to provide those kind of workers. And in addition, this is all, of course, at no charge to the company. And then we have a program called Ready South Carolina, which this is part of, but it does more than that. If the company expands or comes to South Carolina, we have faculty, we have instructors who will go learn how to do the maintenance and everything else, all the work that is done in that company, and they will set up at the technical college what looks like a part of the plant. I went into Trident Tech down in Charleston, Berkeley counties the other day, and I didn't realize it because I was absorbed in something else as we entered. I thought I was in the Mercedes plant. It was actually the technical college, a part of the facility there, because they had Mercedes vans in, and the students were working on them under the supervision of these people who have been well-trained managers on how to teach. That's all at no cost, and we can advertise through our technical college system, which again started in 1961. We can advertise for the workers. We can help them do the paperwork. All of that costs nothing to any company, provided you could be permanent and you're going to have good wages and you're going to have benefits for the employees. So we are very eager to do all we can, and as Governor Bevin, we too have an apprentice program, and we've talked to some of our big companies, including BMW and Mercedes, and they are very dependent and encouraged about it. And again, that doesn't cost anybody anything either. But here's the interesting thing I've noticed in these major companies, as well as in some of the small ones, is the world's changed. And there are jobs out there now that didn't exist 30 years ago. We have somewhat of a cultural problem in this country where for years we've been telling all the young people they have to go get a 4-year degree in order to be successful. Well, we have long-distance truck drivers that make $100,000 a year, a nuclear welder. We had an instance where a young man was almost homeless, a street person. Someone took him under his wing, got him his GED, which is a graduate equivalent degree, because he didn't graduate from high school, but he got that degree. That allowed him to enter the technical college, which is typically a 2-year program, or you can just get a certain certificate. There must be hundreds of those certificates that are available in our 16 colleges. He got his welder's associate degree and went to work, came back, and got his nuclear welding certificate, and in a space of about 3.5 years, he's making $125,000 a year. We've had people in Tower International and other companies say that their maintenance people don't bring toolboxes anymore, they bring a laptop. So these kind of jobs have changed. It's a whole different world out there, and we're trying to encourage the guidance counselors, the high schools, as well as the parents, that there are great jobs awaiting these young people that are highly skilled, highly professional, highly respected, and they can make a lot of money. And if they want to go back and finish up either online or some other way and get a 4-year degree, they can do that later. But we have 22-year-olds getting out of technical college buying houses, getting married and buying houses. That is the major element of our infrastructure that we must focus on as we see it.
Thanks, Governor. That's terrific. I wish my son were buying a house.
That's right.
Send him to your state.
Isn't that what basements are for?
Yeah,
I think that's what most
that's what he
kids
thinks.
Yeah. Let me touch real quickly on infrastructure. And again, each of our states has competitive advantages, not only compared to each other, but compared to other states. If you want a deep water port, obviously we don't have the proximity to the ocean that a South Carolina does. They don't have the central location that we do. So each state has its own advantages, which is why you've come to the United States, presumably, and why you're talking to individual states. But when you think about infrastructure, one of the things that does matter is the connectivity of rails in highways, in the intersection of those. And there is no state that you could not buy for any price what Kentucky is blessed with in terms of the number of things that just happen to go through our state. I mentioned the logistical hubs of UPS, DHL, and Amazon that are in Kentucky, but also the rails that runs through there. I mean, CSX's presence that goes nationwide, but that runs through the number of rail yards. The Riverway, the Ohio River, that flows right along our entire border, that, again, takes you anywhere in the world by water. The I-69 corridor in western Kentucky is the only corridor that goes from Canada all the way to Mexico, straight through North America, right through the United States. It runs through Kentucky on the western end. We're about to open a bridge that, I say about to, we're in the process of doing the engineering and environmental study, but it's on track to open up a bridge that will modernize that corridor and make it one of the most productive and important transportation routes in North America for some of the reasons that I mentioned. These are the types of things that people are looking at. We should be encouraged, and you should be encouraged, by a president and an administration that has said time and again that they want to focus on infrastructure. 2 weeks ago, I was with the president as he came to the Kentucky-Ohio border along the river and talked about the importance of infrastructure. He made a large announcement. You may have seen it, where the barges on the river behind him. And I was able to be there with him talking about this because this is near and dear to my heart as a governor. But these things are things that you should be encouraged by because the opportunity is great and the infrastructure needs are great. We do have many. We both share a lot of needs on our roads and our bridges, but we are also blessed with an amazing opportunity set. And so there's a chance to partner with you all in several ways, but it is the infrastructure. You mentioned, we were talking, you've worked with the FAA. Kentucky has 6 commercial airports already and dozens of smaller regional airports. We have one of the best airport infrastructures of any state in the country. Interestingly, we graduate the 3rd highest number of pilots of any school in America. There's one in Florida we won't mention and one in North Dakota we won't mention that graduate a pretty good number themselves. But Eastern Kentucky University is a huge deliverer of pilots and of trained mechanics. And we have dozens and dozens of airports. We're building a brand new airport in a section of our state with a 5,000-foot runway in an area just a few miles away from where 50% of all of the stainless steel produced in North America comes out of a company in Kentucky, North American Stainless. And 50%, just a few miles away from there, we're going to be building a brand new airport. That's going to open up that whole area. It's also right on the river. These are the kind of things that are happening in Kentucky every day, and the future is bright indeed. It really is as it relates to infrastructure, and we need partners, not only to help us put that infrastructure in place, but also to use it and take advantage of it to build your businesses.
You make a really good, yes, go ahead, Governor.
I must, Matt made me think, we know that excellence of any kind begets excellence of other kinds. Right. And I must say that the proud state of South Carolina in the last year has won the National Football Championship, the Girls Basketball Championship, and the National Baseball Championship.
Yeah. I actually knew that. My son pointed that out when I mentioned that you were going to be on the panel. He actually said that. And I said, I don't think the governor will mention that.
And President Trump had the Clemson football team at the White House a week ago.
Now, I will say both of you have talked about, you have good infrastructure in your state, but you're also alluding to the fact that there's a great deal more that has to be done. And certainly the president's talked about that. Members of Congress have talked about that. Do you see a role for foreign direct investment in that situation? Is that something that you'd like to see? Public-private partnerships. I know both of you, actually, I think, have started your own public-private or set up a public-private partnership office. Do you see a role for that? Where do you see that heading?
I mean, there's no question. I'll make this super tight and throw it to you. I mean, yes, the answer is yes, there is a role, there is a need. You have capital, we have opportunity. We have a chance for you to get a good return on that investment. That's the most important thing for you and us to think about. Is not just simply that you have capital and you want to throw it in a hole somewhere. Where are you going to get the best bang for the buck? Where are you going to get the best return on your investment? Whether it's a country, whether it's a company, whether it's an industry, where can you go to invest your capital in a foreign direct investment to get a good return? And in Kentucky, we have example after example of where companies have gotten, as I said, we've already this year alone, nearly $1.8 billion just in the first 5 months of the year that have been invested in foreign direct investment in Kentucky, because there's tremendous opportunity set. We would love to work with you. We were already talking with many of you about future projects, some that are ongoing. Any of you that would have an interest, I would be remiss if I didn't say, and I'm sure South Carolina does, other states as well, we do have a booth that is here, that's in one of the wings around here. Go by that booth. There is an opportunity to spin a wheel and win any number of exciting, delightful prizes that are all Kentucky-based. Really and truly, a lot of really fun and neat things, but it will also help you to appreciate how diverse Kentucky is. I mentioned bourbon, everybody knows that, but did you know that all the Post-it notes that are made in Kentucky? Things like that. So there's a lot of things that you'll appreciate by going to that booth. Check it out. I mean, it's more than horses, bourbon, and baseball bats, although we have all those as well.
And those are okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they are good.
Well, let's get to one point that I know always is probably near and dear to both of your hearts, and I know to many in this room. Sometimes there are regulations in place that may be barriers or impediments, and I guess I'd be interested in what you've done in your own state, perhaps, and then also where you think the federal government could be helpful and perhaps focus more attention to. We'll start with Governor McMaster.
Okay. As I answer that, let me mention this. On direct investment, we're wide open for business. We have a number of new companies that have expanded in the last 12 months. Electrolux, Guest Stamp, I think is the name of it. Honda, which has been there for a while, is expanding. Magna International from Canada, Michelin from France, of course, has 10 plants in South Carolina and is expanding now. Bosch is expanding. Teltronic Industries from China. Tijan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, carbon fiber, they're coming. They'll be joining BMW, Schaeffler, Volvo, Daimler. Of course, in tires, we export more tires than any state in the country. Make and export, and that's Michelin, Continental, Bridgestone, Giddy, Teleborg, and there are more coming in autos. BMW, Mercedes does vans. Volvo is building now. Ball bearings, the most of any state. That's Schaeffler. And, of course, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Toray is putting in $1 billion for carbon fiber. So we are eagerly looking for more. And what was the question you asked me?
To tell you the truth, I like that one. I realized after you started that I hadn't given you a chance to respond to that exactly.
Yes.
We have a lot, too. I just don't brag as much as South Carolina does. It's all good.
I haven't gotten past the bourbon, though, I tell you. I think that the question really was about regulation. What have you done in your state? That's not nearly as much fun as what you were talking about, though.
The most regulations are the tax code, and that's what's got to be changed. And I'm delighted that President Trump has put that four square in his time. And also the personal property tax on machinery, we're cutting that down in South Carolina. Our income tax is pretty low. It's maxed out at a flat. It goes up to 7%. But and we want to bring that down. We're having right now. My predecessor, Nikki Haley, who of course is at the United Nations now, as ambassador to the United Nations, started on going through all of the regulations, the state regulations that we have, which are presented by the various agencies, and unless they are vetoed essentially by the General Assembly, they become in effect. She went through and studied and found a lot and eliminated them, and we are now taking that to the next step, and we're going around having meetings in various parts of the state asking the businesses, large and small, to come tell us what regulations there are that we need to get rid of. So we want to get it down. President Trump said he wants the agencies, for any new one they impose, he wants them to get rid of 2. Well, we'd like to be able to do something like that, but we're working hard, and it's hard to find these regulations that hurt until the industries or the people tell you, because they're the ones that run into them every day. There's some EPA regulations that need to be lightened up a little bit. They're very important. In our state, we want to guard our natural heritage very closely, because that's why a lot of people come to our state, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, that your point really is that you do still have to care about the environment, and you can, but are there duplications? Are there regulations that may perhaps take it a step too far, or sometimes there are state regulations and federal regulations that it's almost again, very duplicated.
Oh, it's awful. It's you have just building permits and things like that take so long. But we have our counties. Everybody's on the team in South Carolina, and we're a relatively small state. We're about in the middle. But one thing about our state is everybody knows everybody, it seems. And someone once said they want to know a legal question: if we're married in South Carolina and divorced in Georgia, are we still cousins? You can get things done. We can turn on a dime, and it is wonderful to hear President Trump recognize that the regulations themselves, just the time of going through those that are worthy of existing, but just the time of going through them is almost cost prohibitive for a lot of expansions or a lot of investment. So we're doing on the state level what he is doing on the national level, and I think it'll be good for business all across the country.
One of the things on this same front, and I will say that was just a softball there, but I'm not going to touch it. That was because we are truly friends, and I think the world of this man and of the state, and we, as I said at the beginning, we learn a lot from each other. But I'll speak specifically to some of the things on the regulation front, the things that we're doing in Kentucky. You see me wearing this pin. I don't know how much you can zoom in on something like this, but it's a little pair of scissors cutting through red tape. And all the cool kids have one, by the way, so if you happen to see someone with them, they got it from Kentucky. And this was something we put in place about a year ago. I was about 6 months on the job. I've only been governor now for a year and a half. But 6 months in, I said, you know what, there's way too much regulation. We have more than 4,700 regulations, and they're comprised of more than 130,000 rules in Kentucky. And I'm quite confident we could cut a lot of that and still regulate you. So I decided that we would cut 30% over the course of 3 years, 30% of all of the regulation and red tape in Kentucky. So we established this red tape reduction initiative. And if you want to see what it looks like, and I would encourage every one of you, every country, every company, every state, to steal this idea. It's not proprietary. We would all be better if every entity tried to do this. Go to a website called redtapereduction.com. Redtapereduction, all spelled out, .com, and take a look at what we're doing and how we track what's being done. Of the 4,700 regulations, when we started this a year ago, we've already reviewed 2,000 of them. Of those 2,000, we've already repealed outright about 153 of them. We've got another 200 and some odd that are scheduled for repeal. We've already amended 184 of them, and we have about 450 that are scheduled for amendment. So we are going through these in a fairly methodical process. I knew it would take time, and indeed after a year, we've not even gotten through half of the regulations, but of those we've gotten through, nearly half of them have either been eliminated or updated and modernized. That's what you all want. That's what we want. It makes it easier to do business. The one commitment I'll make to you as the governor of Kentucky, if you come to Kentucky with us as a possibility, you may end up deciding at the end of the day that a South Carolina or some other state is the best place for you. But if you come to us as part of the initial analysis, we will help you get to yes or no as fast as anywhere you're likely to go. And it starts by leadership coming from the top. And my cabinet secretaries, to a person, Men and women alike are business-minded people who understand that time is money. And if you come to Kentucky, we will help you in very short measure understand what the regulations are, what the impact is, and whether or not there's anything we can do to expedite permitting, to expedite the process associated with figuring out whether we're the best place for you. And we owe you that, because if you come to us, even if we're not where you decide to be, I want you to be able to get to where you do need to go if it's not us. And I do believe that many of you who may not have thought Kentucky is the right place for you will be shocked and amazed. This is why the UPSs and the DHLs and the Amazons and the Fords and the Humanas and the GEs and all these other companies are there, is because it is a good place. And cutting regulation is a way in which you can find us easier to do business with. And so this is something I'm committed to. Go to redtapereduction.com. Take this idea. Do it everywhere. These are things, I give copies of these. Secretary Ross has one of these. I noticed he wasn't wearing it when he was up here earlier. I'm meeting with him later today. I'll have to give him another one. But he's got one. Then he actually, I'll tell you what, he's a businessman too. And he understands the importance of this. He was fascinated with the idea because it's a simple thing. The last thing I'll say on it is this. I don't care what your ideology. I don't care what your politics or what your party. You don't like red tape. That's the one thing I've discovered. Cutting red tape is uniformly and universally loved by everybody. And there's nothing that makes you a bigger hero than to cut red tape. So marshal the troops, marshal everybody on all sides of the spectrum, nonprofit, for-profit, Republicans, Democrats, everybody in between, and cut red tape. It makes it easier for business to happen.
Thank you, Governor. Well said.
Amen.
And I think your point about clarity of regulation, getting to yes or to no quickly is important as well. And Governor, your point about you can still have protection of the natural resources, still have the environmental concerns addressed, but do it in a more sensible manner is really what you're both saying. Let
me touch on one real quick thing. It made me think of that when you said this. There is a company that announced just a couple of months ago they're going to invest $1.3 billion, $1.3 billion U.S. to build the most modern aluminum rolling mill in America. And they're going to build it in eastern Kentucky in an impoverished area. But it is all the most modern manufacturing processes and methodologies that allow it to be the most unimpactful environmentally at the very same time. So much of the process with anodes and things that has been pioneered in recent years related to the smelting process and then the rolling and processing process. The types of things that are happening now in the metallurgical world are transforming things. And so as so much of the world now moves in the automotive space and aeronautic space to aluminum, been there in the aeronautic space, but as automotive start to move there is not enough supply of high-quality aluminum in the world to keep demand on the requirements from our automakers alone. And so the fact that this new mill that will be ready in 2020 to start putting out 370,000 tons of aluminum every year with the ability to scale up to 500,000 tons of high-quality aluminum plate that is able to be used in the aerospace in the automotive industries. That's going to be in eastern Kentucky, a company called Brady Industries. If you're looking for aluminum plate, you probably ought to get your orders in now because it will be exhausted quickly, seriously, because there is not enough of it out there. And that will be the most cutting edge and effective. The last thing I'll say, too, is energy costs. If energy costs matter to you, the cheapest electric rates in the United States east of the Mississippi River happen to be in Kentucky. That's just a fact. We're fortunate for it. It's a variety of reasons that is the case. But that's likely to continue to be the case into the foreseeable future. And so if you need something like the metallurgical and manufacturing worlds that need a lot of electricity, the cheapest rates in the eastern United States are in Kentucky. And so we'd be happy to talk to you about that as well.
Great. Yes, Governor.
I forgot something that I think Matt is Matt would be interested in as well, and that's the value of the military and the veterans.
That's right.
Another thing, of course, that President Trump is talking about and working on. But in South Carolina, we have 7 military bases. And we've been in every war since the beginning, of course, but we have 7 military bases. Fort Jackson, which is in Columbia, the state capital, just celebrated its 100th birthday last week. And Fort Jackson trains half of the Army recruits in the country, right? That's a big place. And the value that these retiring service people bring with them is an untapped resource. As someone mentioned at our meeting at the White House the other day, you have men and women that have been driving these huge vehicles in war being shot at, but they can't get a commercial license. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So we have to change that. But also we have programs in South Carolina that encourage those veterans and as well as retirees, but younger ones that are mustering out or getting the discharge, honorable discharge from the service, to take a look at these technical schools, take a look at these apprentice programs, and take a look at these jobs that are available. And we're trying to remove those regulations that don't recognize their service and it qualifies them for an apprentice certificate. And there's also something, a new idea that we are formulating, is to somehow have a 4-year technical degree to count as a bachelor's degree of some kind, and that will let these people who have gone in and worked in these companies as apprentice or otherwise going through the technical colleges and are working in the plant to move up and become managers. That's an arbitrary and unnecessary barrier that keeps them from moving up. But we urged all our states and urged the administration to look real hard at the great value that these veterans bring, and President Trump, of course, is doing that.
Well said. Well said. We are approaching the close of the panel session, but I do want to, first of all, thank both governors very much. But as your last comments or so, there are a number of people in here who I'm sure are very interested in continuing a discussion. If you were giving them a piece of advice for companies that may want to come to your state, what 2 or 3 things would you tell them to do? How would they go about it? What's your best piece of advice in terms of that?
Well, obviously, starting in Kentucky is the best piece of advice I could give you. But in terms of with us directly, and I say this with all sincerity, the people that I have hired into my administration intentionally come from the business community. It isn't because we don't need more bureaucrats and people who are good at creating regulation. I want people who understand what it's like to suffer underneath regulation that doesn't necessarily need to be there. And so we've been able to hire top industry leaders out of the private sector. And so our head of economic development and the people in his team, Secretary Gill, he and his executive officer, Vivek Serene, are both here somewhere in this room. We do have a booth that is here. Please do stop by. The best advice I could give you, if anything that I have said is of interest to you, you would like to learn more about it, I'd be happy to. I've got to dash probably to another meeting right after this, but we've got a table staffed with people. We do have an opportunity for you to win some fabulous prizes, but more importantly, you have an opportunity. I think we're hosting an event this evening that does involve the aforementioned brown beverage that some of you might want. And so there's an opportunity for you to interact, but stop by the booth. Get some information, get our contact information. If you're looking for cheap energy costs, if you're looking for logistical advantages that don't exist anywhere else, if you're looking for a geographic location, 4 seasons, none too extreme, an incredibly qualified workforce, but hundreds of millions being invested to make it even better still. If you want these types of things, if they might be helpful to you, stop by our booth and get to know Kentucky, because it's not all of them that are unique to us, but we are blessed with an amazing abundance of them all rolled up in one special, magical place. And I'd be grateful if you would come by and talk to us.
And Governor, is your point of contact the Chief of Economic Development that you referred to? Is that, often people say, well, where do you really go?
I would start with our secretary, Secretary Gill and his team, the Cabinet for Economic Development. Because frankly, that's what you're looking for. Foreign direct investment is a function of dealing with economic development folks. And they work directly with and for me and my team, and they're good personal friends and folks that I've been known for years prior to them being involved in government. And I know the caliber of their ability. I know their passion for building business. not only that's there, but outside. So yes, start there. That's for Kentucky. Start with our Economic Development Cabinet and our team of people that are located here. They'll be here all week. They've got a booth of people that can give you more information.
Governor.
I'm going to visit Kentucky. You got me so
You're
fired
gonna
up.
want to. I mean, I'm telling you, here's the thing. Yes, it is true. It is true. I love South Carolina. I'll be honest. I love South Carolina. I truly do. But when he retires, he is going to want to live in Kentucky when it's all done. If we do our job right, you're all going to want to live in Kentucky.
Governor, how about for you?
Matt Bevin is great. In case y'all haven't noticed that, I would say we have a Department of Commerce is headed by Bobby Hitt, and one of his assistants, Beth Webb, is backstage here, and she'll be with me. But and you can call them, or you can call this number, 803-413-8769. That's 803-413-8769. That is my cell phone.
That's awesome.
And if you want to come to South Carolina, we're available. I will say this, and seriously, that's how people get in touch with me all the time. We have the mountains on one end of the state, the beaches, beautiful beaches on the other end. All the explorers, when they were coming across in the 15 and 1600s, were writing back to the kings and queens, telling them they'd never seen any place like what we now call South Carolina. And we have an abundant power, plenty of water, a great climate. These research universities that want to partner. We have a great technical college system, including those programs. But I'll tell you, I may have mentioned this at the beginning, the thing that interests me in talking to these companies that are in the state and have been for a long time, or just new ones, they say it's the people. They say there's something different about the people. I think every state has a little bit of a different flavor. But it's the quality of life, the friendliness and willingness to help, and the determination, willingness to work of our people. And it reminds me, just briefly, people come in and they say, this is true. They say, I can always tell when I'm in South Carolina. I don't have to look at a map. Don't have to look at a sign. I always know when I'm in South Carolina. How is that? They say when I go in to eat a meal somewhere, between placing my order and paying my bill on the way out, the waitress will call me honey, sweetie, darling, and dear. That's how I know I'm in South Carolina.
That is terrific. Honey, sweetie, or
Darling.
What was the last one?
Say what?
Darling.
Darling.
Honey, sweetie, darling, and dear. Give it a try.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Well, I want to thank both of the governors. This was a very terrific conversation, and I think we can see why they are such great leaders for their state, and I would say for the United States. It made me very proud to sit here and to listen to the innovation that I heard, and the programs that you have, and the way that you've embraced really innovation and also direct foreign investment. We're excited for not only for your states, but for the United States. And thank you all for
participating. Say one quick thing real quick. Let me just real quickly.
A last word.
I want to reaffirm something that we've said. Do invest. We need, whether it is in our states or somewhere else, America needs your investment. We want your investment. And as a leader of a state and two leaders of states, I'm telling you, we speak for many of our compatriots, both Republican and Democrats alike. And I don't speak for the administration, but from the conversation, the two of us last week were in the White House with the president talking about this very topic. We need your investment, and we want it. Don't be distracted by seeming rhetoric or somebody's spin of that and the interpretation of that. We need strong foreign direct investment. So please do come. We are open. We don't just say it. It's true enough. Thank you for being here, because what you came here for, there's tremendous opportunity in America. It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exit.